California fire officials are starting to make progress with another fast-moving wildfire. The Hughes fire was first reported near a freeway just yesterday morning, and at least 10,000 acres across northern Los Angeles County and Ventura County have been since burned. And thousands more of Californians are now being ordered to evacuate. I believe it's over 10,000 at this point. Jonathan Hunt is live on the ground in Passaic, California. Jonathan.
Kaylee, in the last couple of hours, the winds have picked up significantly once again here, and as a result, we are getting flare-ups of the Hughes fire here in Castaic. You take a look across the Castaic Lake here, you can see one of those flare-ups. The good news is that that is in a non-residential part of this area. That is over into the state park wilderness. But for the last hour or so, we have been watching again and again, and you can see one of them coming in right now. The super scoopers performing their water drops. That one has just dropped water on that fire line. You'll now watch as it goes down into the lake, and we have two cameras you can look at here. It's going to bank to its right now, and then will drop down as it has been doing again and again throughout the last hour. It hits the surface of the water, remains on that lake for about 15 seconds to fill up, and then will take off again. It's a pretty extraordinary sight as you watch this, and is just one example of the heroic work that these firefighters at every level on the ground and in the air do again and again and again. And here is, I think you can see our REM that has a live shot of that super scooper about to touch down on the water. There it goes now. It'll be on the surface, as I say, for 15 seconds before picking up and heading back to try to knock down this flare-up. A second aircraft coming in right behind it now, and it really is quite remarkable work to watch. Yesterday, of course, this fire was raging towards the residential community of Castaic, population about 20,000 people. Almost all of those were under evacuation orders, and I can tell you, after what we've witnessed over the past couple of weeks in the LA area, everybody was taking those evacuation orders pretty seriously. There was another fire overnight, the Sepulveda fire. That was near the iconic Getty Center and very near some high-end homes in the Bel Air neighborhood of Los Angeles. That forward progress of that fire was halted after a few hours. Again, aircraft and helicopters making a significant impact there. So we have not seen the sort of devastation on the ground that we saw, obviously, in the Palisades and Eden fires, where we saw so many thousands of homes and businesses destroyed. By the way, President Trump will be touring some of that destruction when he visits the LA area tomorrow afternoon. There will be a lot of political talk about California's preparedness for this, or lack thereof. The president has already made clear his criticism of officials from California Governor Gavin Newsom on down. It is not clear to us at this point whether the governor will be on the ground in the LA area to tour the damage with the president, whether the two men will meet. President Trump told Sean Hannity last night he himself is not sure if such a meeting will take place, but it will be fascinating to see the president on the ground and to see what he has to say about the connection between federal aid to California and what he wants to see California officials do to be better prepared for these kind of fires in the future. Kaylee.
Jonathan, that was some incredible imagery watching those planes scoop up that water. Those pilots are so incredibly talented. Thank you so much for that report.
Sure.
Trey, some of the unknowns politically are really interesting, whether we'll see Newsom and Trump together.
Sure.
I was with President Trump the last time he went to address one of these fires. It was September 14th, 2020. I watched him and Newsom sit there, and between them was a picture of a fire that burned the size of Connecticut. Yeah. The political dynamics are really interesting because both individuals want to help the community, but in this case, Gavin Newsom decided to bring up climate change, as did some of his experts. So there's always dynamics at play under the surface.
Yeah, I mean, climate change has nothing to do with the fact that those forests have not been thinned. Climate change had nothing to do with the fact that that brush in the Pacific Palisades was not thinned as it should have been. Climate change had nothing to do with the fact that that reservoir in the Pacific Palisades, the San Ysidro Reservoir, was empty. And it has nothing to do with the fact that California has not built a new reservoir in decades, and they have billions of dollars in funding because we passed laws so they could build new reservoirs, and they haven't because the environmental lobby is so strong in California. President Trump's going to go in. He's going to ask a couple of questions. Why is there not water flowing to Southern California? When you have all this rain for 2 years, why is it flowing out to the ocean? And why is it you are not thinning the forest and getting rid of the underbrush? And Gavin Newsom's going to say climate change.
Emily, that in a nutshell is the best single series of questions I've heard for California. Climate change, likewise, did not force Governor Gavin Newsom to create an emergency fund to resist Trump, to create documents and memos about resisting him on immigration, instead of focusing on all of those questions that Trace just brought up.
And the constellation of contributing factors all fall under corruption and incompetence of Gavin Newsom and those that support him. So to your point, you know, this latest Castaic fire reminds me of Paradise, frankly, in 2018 in Northern California, small town surrounded by the mountains. But that remains the most deadly and largest fire in California history. And that was started, my point is, by PG&E, by those faulty wires. And the whole point is when you mismanage an entire state that they like to brag has one of the highest GDPs in the world, the reality is that the results are catastrophic because the mismanagement has a ripple effect that affects. So regarding their environmental lobby decisions, that has led to not only unemployment and the vast amount, millions and millions of gallons of Northern California water going into the Pacific, but also the missed priorities. So we have a big budget for the fire department, but only 5% goes to fire prevention. Right? We have this priority of diversity, equity, and inclusion, but then what about saving and protecting Americans' lives on a prophylactic scale? The list goes on. One of the 7 largest fires in California history started by a recidivist criminal. All of their decisions go into this constellation effect that puts Americans' lives at stake.
And, you know, Trump has been warning for years, Harris, about cleaning the brush. And you wonder, you know, where does he get this knowledge and expertise? And last night with Sean Hannity, he said, world leaders told me how they manage their forests, and he brought that knowledge back to Gavin Newsom, who did nothing with it.
Well, and national security advisories always tell you where the weak points are. Like the enemies are always looking. Where could you hide? Well, I guess we'll go to the brush in California. I mean, think about it. I think you could probably find some people who could tell you who've come into the country illegally. Yeah, we know where your weak spots are. But look, this is common sense, actually. I teach my girls to be resilient. We've seen change on the planet, like the dinosaurs are extinct. Of course things are going to change. They'll never stay the same. They change from day to day. You have to be prepared for the change that's coming, that you know of, and the change you don't. So if you don't do the little things that you can do, if you don't purpose the budget right, as Emily just said, if you don't do, you have a fire season. How are you only spending 5% of your budget on a fire season that kills people? That's not common sense. This isn't hard, but it is hard work. And I don't know why Gavin Newsom and others who support him don't want to do the work.
Well, that's getting right to what I was thinking about this, Harris, is that first we need to get the fires contained, these poor people who have lost their livelihoods and lives. But then it's going to turn to how do you rebuild? And inevitably, they're going to come to Washington, D.C. with their hand out and say, you need to give us funding for this. And I hope that Congress and Donald Trump will say, as long as you do your work to ensure that when fire season comes around again, we're not going to see the same thing happen over and over. Like, tie some carrots to that stick.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.